Okay, now that my new project has been prepared and created and deployed, now we can finally import our data into R. First though, why don't I rename this generic name? I'll call it Lab3. Keep in mind that in general, for file names in R, it's best to avoid special characters, spaces, anything weird. Lab3 with no space, pretty good name. Okay, so if I want to upload my data, I'll just come over here to the bottom right quadrant of my browser window, click on Upload, and we'll see the kind of dialog box that we're familiar with from many other programs in our past, and we'll click Choose File. And we just have to navigate to wherever the data is that we'd like to import, and I will grab this 4145 multitasking 9 participants.csv file. Open that. It was successfully selected, and I'll click OK. There it is. It appeared right here in my list of files. If it doesn't appear, you might have to navigate around here just a little bit to get into the project folder where I am right now. However, after importing this thing, it's not quite read in as a dataset until I click on the file name and select Import Dataset from the dialog box that pops up. Preparing data import requires updated versions of the following packages: readr, rcpp. Do you want to install these packages now? Well, I'll say yes, because when RStudio Cloud asks me questions like that, it's generally best to assume that it knows what it's doing. These packages are functions, things that other people have programmed for free and made available for free online, so that we can reach out and grab functions that we can then use in R to do all kinds of things, whether it's graphing or importing a CSV file. Something as simple as that. Now we'll see every step of what it's doing as it installs the packages that it demanded. Another step that we have to be patient with until it gets all the way through its processes. You'll know when it's done installing packages because there will always be the prompt reappearing at the bottom. So there's our prompt again. In this case, this also pulls up this viewer window, which is very nice. Allows us to see the data that we're importing in the format that is being imported in. Notice for the file name problem, RStudio Cloud just gave an X, inserted an X in front of my file name, because again, it doesn't like that digit, so that's how it handled that. One other annoying thing I did with the data here, I left a heading on only the first column with no headings on any other column. Notice that our arbitrarily assigned labels to each of these other columns that did not have labels. Before you get going too far into your data, make sure to label these with something descriptive that actually tells you what's in each column. It'll make all your analyses easier down the line. One other thing to point out in this window, although I won't change it, is that my delimiters here are set to be commas. But notice they can be any number of different kinds of characters. In a CSV file, the delimiters are commas by default. And so we see commas by default here. If it wasn't a CSV file, there might be some other kind of delimiter. I would have to change this if it was set to comma. Otherwise, it will not recognize where the breaks in the columns are. The delimiter is the word we use to refer to the character that separates the data that belongs in separate columns. That's it. Okay, click on Import. And here we got our data. Notice it is now an object over here in R. Tells us how many observations we have. Remember, we have multiple trials for each of our 9 participants. And 10 variables, that's our number of columns in our data. One other thing we can do, given that we have this very cumbersome file name here, x4145 equals multitasking underscore 9 underscore participants, I can make another object called data2 that will be the exact same thing as the data that I just imported. Enter. And now if I do a view command on data 2, we'll see the same data that we saw when we did a view command for the file we imported with the long name. Thanks for watching.